I found out my best friend was secretly dating my fiancé. The phone buzzed on the marble kitchen counter, a tiny, insistent vibration that cut through the silence of my empty apartment. I'd just gotten back from a grueling 12-hour shift at the hospital, my feet aching, my mind fogged with exhaustion. All I wanted was a glass of wine and to collapse on the sofa. But the screen lit up with a name that made my stomach clench. Liam. My fiancé. He was supposed to be at a late-night client meeting across town. My thumb hovered, a flicker of unease warring with fatigue. Maybe he was checking in, telling me he was finally on his way home. I swiped open the message. It wasn't text. It was a photo. A close-up, slightly blurry shot of two hands intertwined on a dark, leather surface. One hand was unmistakably Liam's, the signet ring I'd given him for our first anniversary glinting under dim light. The other was Chloe's. My best friend since we were 5, sharing secrets, scraped knees, and dreams. Her delicate fingers, the tiny silver moon ring I'd helped her pick out after her breakup last year. They were holding hands. Intimately. Familiarly. The blood drained from my face, leaving me cold and dizzy. I stared, unblinking, trying to make sense of it. A mistake? A cruel prank? My fingers trembled as I typed back, my thumbs feeling clumsy and foreign. Liam? What is this? The 3 little dots appeared immediately, then vanished. Nothing. Panic, sharp and metallic, flooded my mouth. I called him. It went straight to voicemail. I called Chloe. Same thing. Voicemail. The silence in the apartment suddenly felt thick, suffocating, pressing in on me. The pristine white walls, the carefully chosen furniture, the framed photos of Liam and me laughing on beaches, of Chloe and me grinning at concerts, it all felt like a stage set for a play I hadn't known I was starring in. A play where the script had been secretly rewritten. My legs gave out, and I slid down the cool cabinets onto the tiled floor, the phone clattering beside me. The photo burned into my retinas. Liam's hand. Chloe's hand. Together. How long? The question screamed in my head, obliterating everything else. How long had they been lying? How long had I been the fool, smiling at my best friend, planning my future with my fiancé, completely oblivious to the betrayal festering right under my nose? Fragments of the past few months replayed in a sickening montage. Chloe canceling our weekly wine nights last minute, vague excuses about work or feeling tired. Liam working later than usual, his phone often face down when he came home, a new distance in his eyes I'd chalked up to stress. The two of them exchanging lingering glances I'd dismissed as my imagination. That time I walked into Liam's home office and they jumped apart, Chloe fumbling with her laptop, Liam looking flustered. Just helping Chloe with a presentation, he'd said smoothly. Chloe had nodded too quickly, avoiding my eyes. I'd believed them, trusted them, loved them. The trust felt like shattered glass now, cutting deep with every breath. I scrambled up, fueled by a surge of adrenaline that overrode the exhaustion. I needed proof. I needed to see it with my own eyes, not just a damning photo. I grabbed my keys, my movements jerky, automated. The drive to Liam's condo was a blur of streetlights and roaring blood in my ears. I parked haphazardly and took the stairs 2 at a time, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. His door was unlocked. He never left it unlocked. I pushed it open silently. The living room was dark, bathed only in the cold glow of the city skyline through the floor-to-ceiling windows. And then I heard it. A soft laugh. Chloe's laugh. Coming from the bedroom. The bedroom where Liam and I had made plans for our honeymoon, where we'd whispered about our future children. My feet felt leaden, but I forced myself forward, one silent step at a time down the hallway. The door was slightly ajar. I peered through the crack. And there they were. Liam was sitting on the edge of the bed, Chloe perched beside him, her head resting on his shoulder. His arm was wrapped around her, holding her close. Not the way a friend holds a friend. The way a lover holds a lover. They were murmuring to each other, too low for me to hear the words, but the intimacy was palpable, a physical blow. I saw Liam press a kiss to Chloe's hair. I saw Chloe tilt her face up towards his, a soft, secretive smile on her lips. The world tilted. The carefully constructed reality I'd inhabited shattered completely. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a momentary lapse. This was a relationship. A secret, stolen relationship built on the ruins of mine. A wave of nausea rolled over me. I stumbled back, my shoulder hitting the wall with a soft thud. They froze. Liam's head snapped up, his eyes widening in shock as they met mine through the crack in the door. Chloe scrambled away from him like she'd been burned, her face draining of color, her eyes wide with panic and guilt. "Emma?" Liam's voice was hoarse, disbelieving. "Emma, wait. It's not what it looks like." Chloe echoed him, her voice trembling. "Emma, please, let us explain." Explain? Explain how they'd been deceiving me? Explain how they'd ripped out my heart and stomped on it? Explain the months of lies, the stolen moments, the betrayal that went bone deep? Rage, pure and white-hot, finally burned through the shock and the pain. It was a cleansing fire, scorching away the paralysis. I didn't wait. I didn't listen. I turned and ran. I ran out of that condo, out of that building, and didn't stop until I was back in the suffocating silence of my own apartment. The phone buzzed again. Liam. Chloe. Over and over. I ignored it. I walked into the bedroom, my gaze landing on the open jewelry box on my dresser. Inside, nestled on black velvet, was the engagement ring, the beautiful, sparkling symbol of a future that was now ashes. I picked it up. The diamond felt cold, heavy, utterly meaningless. I remembered the day Liam proposed. Picnic in the park, sunshine, champagne, tears of joy. Chloe had been the first person I called, screaming with excitement. She'd screamed back, promising to be my maid of honor. The memory was like acid. I walked back into the living room, the ring clutched tightly in my fist. I looked around at the photos. Liam and me. Chloe and me. All of us together. Lies. All of it. The buzzing stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then a single, insistent knock on my apartment door. I didn't move. I knew who it was. "Emma? Please open up. We need to talk." Liam's voice, muffled through the wood, sounded broken. Desperate. "Emma, I'm so sorry," Chloe pleaded, her voice thick with tears. "We never meant to hurt you. It just happened. It just happened." The words ignited the rage again. Just happened? Like tripping over a curb? Like spilling coffee? This wasn't an accident. This was a choice. A series of choices, made over and over again, by two people who claimed to love me. I walked to the door. I didn't open it. I leaned my forehead against the cool wood. "Go away, Liam," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, cold as ice. "Go away, Chloe." "But Emma," Chloe started. "No," I cut her off, the steel in my voice surprising even myself. "There is nothing to say. There is no explanation that justifies this. You stole months from me. You stole my trust. You stole my best friend. You stole my fiancé. You stole my future." I paused, the weight of the ring in my hand a tangible anchor to the devastation. "You didn't just happen to fall into bed together. You chose deception. You chose betrayal. You chose each other over me. Over years of friendship. Over a lifetime of promises." Silence on the other side of the door. Then a choked sob from Chloe. "Emma, I love you. You're my sister, don't," I hissed, the words sharp enough to cut. "Don't you dare say that. Sisters don't do this. Friends don't do this. The people I loved, the people I trusted implicitly, they died tonight. Liam and Chloe are gone. All that's left are two liars standing outside my door." I took a deep, shuddering breath, the rage momentarily giving way to a profound, soul-deep weariness. The wedding is off. Obviously. The ring. I held it up, knowing they couldn't see it, but needing to say it. Consider it returned. Consider us returned to the store. Defective goods. Damaged beyond repair. I stepped back from the door. Leave. Now. And don't ever contact me again. Not you, Liam. Not you, Chloe. If I see either of you, if I hear from either of you, I will make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of people you are. I will expose every lie, every stolen moment, every ounce of your betrayal. The threat hung in the air, heavy and final. I heard a muffled curse from Liam, a fresh wave of sobs from Chloe. Then, shuffling footsteps. Retreating. The sound of the elevator door opening and closing down the hall. Silence. Utter, deafening silence. I slid down the door, my back against the wood, and finally let the tears come. They weren't quiet tears. They were racking sobs that tore from my throat, the sound of a heart breaking so completely it felt like it would never beat the same way again. I cried for the loss of Liam, the man I thought I knew, the future I'd dreamed of. I cried harder for the loss of Chloe, the sister of my soul, the keeper of all my secrets, the other half of my history. The betrayal by the man I loved was devastating. The betrayal by the woman I loved like family was annihilating. It was a double amputation. I stayed there on the floor for hours, until the tears ran dry and I was left hollow, aching, and strangely clear. The shock had burned away, leaving only the cold, hard truth. They were gone. My life, as I knew it, was over. But I was still here. Bruised, broken, but breathing. The next few days were a blur of numb action. I called my parents. I called Liam's parents. I made the necessary calls to cancel the venue, the caterer, the florist. Each conversation was a fresh stab wound, but I made them with a detached efficiency that surprised me. I packed up Liam's things, boxing them methodically, leaving them by the door for him to collect when I wasn't home. I took down every photo featuring Liam or Chloe. The apartment felt stark, empty, haunted. The silence was no longer suffocating, it was a blank canvas. Painful, but clean. True friends started to filter in. Sarah from work, who brought soup and sat with me in silence. Mark, my college roommate, who raged on my behalf and then held me while I cried. They didn't try to fix it. They just bore witness. Their presence was a balm, a reminder that not everyone was a liar. A week later, a large envelope arrived. No return address. Inside was the engagement ring, taped to a piece of paper. On the paper, in Liam's familiar handwriting, were 3 words, "I am sorry." Underneath, in Chloe's neat script, "So sorry." I stared at the ring, then at the words. They meant nothing. Less than nothing. They were empty gestures from people who had proven their words were worthless. I picked up the ring. It felt cold, alien. I walked to the window, overlooking the city lights. I didn't hesitate. I opened the window and threw the ring as hard as I could into the night. I watched it catch a glint of light before disappearing into the darkness below. Good riddance. I closed the window, shutting out the night. The apartment was still empty. My heart was still shattered. But the rage had subsided, replaced by a quiet, steely resolve. They had tried to destroy me. They had taken my fiancé, my best friend, my future plans. But they hadn't taken me. I was still Emma. And Emma was going to survive this. I picked up my phone, ignoring the dozens of unknown numbers and blocked calls that were undoubtedly them. I scrolled through my contacts and found the number for the travel agent. "Hi," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "I'd like to book a ticket. Somewhere far away. Somewhere I've never been. One way." As I listened to the agent list options, a tiny, fragile spark flickered deep within the wreckage of my heart. It wasn't happiness. Not yet. It wasn't hope exactly. It was something simpler. Something primal. It was the beginning of the end. The end of their lies. The end of my grief. And the beginning of my life. A life I would build, brick by painful brick, on my own terms. Without them. Always without them. The spark grew, just a little. Enough to light the way forward. Into the unknown. Away from the ashes. Away from the betrayal. Towards whatever came next. And for the first time since seeing that damning photo, I took a deep breath that didn't catch in my throat. It wasn't easy. It wasn't fixed. But it was a start. My start. Alone. And suddenly, that didn't feel so terrifying. It felt necessary. It felt powerful. I booked the ticket. One way. No looking back.